Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rock and Hype Sports. We're doing the quarter season review of the NBA, and the first conference I'll talk about is the Eastern Conference because I'm from the East Coast. I'm originally from Ohio, so got to show the Eastern Conference a bit of love. Everybody gets a little slack, so we're going to talk about the Atlantic Division, and in this division, it comprises of Toronto. Raptors, Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics, and the Brooklyn Nets, and the New York Knicks. And the reason why I kind of want to just go with the divisions is because there's some interesting things that happen there that lead up to the whole discussion of the conferences. Because everybody kind of looks at the conferences, 1 through 15, cut out the bottom, and just talk about the top eight, and everyone else just fights for a position in. But there's a lot of things that actually happen within divisions that can give you an idea of what a team may be capable of. So starting off with the Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard has now arrived there. Danny Green is there, and there's an interesting mix with them just getting their G League team. And really putting a big push behind that. That's interesting things that's happening for that market. And one thing is that the brand of Kawhi with the claw, it really fits in well with that whole Toronto Raptors sort of feel. So the interesting thing from Toronto is that not just that they have a new head coach, but that they have sort of a closing mentality as a team. That was something that was really missing from their identities. Like, they played well with DeRozan and also with Lowry, but what the thing they were missing was that mentality as a closer. They were both scorers and they're able to score, specifically in certain ways. But now with having such a strong two-way player that has that sort of defensive identity and they've been there, done that, along with Danny Green, that message doesn't just necessarily come from one side. So looking at the games, and their record is currently 20-4. So you're looking at them closing games that maybe before they didn't have the ability or the confidence, because in the Eastern Conference, especially with LeBron and just his reign over that, even for professionals, it may be intimidating to kind of go up against someone such as that stature. But now they have one of those guys on their team. And so that could, give a little bit of emboldeness and a little more confidence to that organization overall. And, Siakam has been very interesting as far as his progression, seeing that development as well. Now, when it comes to Philadelphia, they've recently added Jimmy Butler, and that whole, drama with Minnesota, which it was just a fit thing. I don't know if it was to the degree of where people were saying their feelings were being heard and all those things. It was more of a, I think he appreciates winning, and as far as Jimmy Butler, and that sort of thing can rub people a certain way if that's not their approach to the game. Like, winning above all can really rub people the wrong way if they're just like, oh, I'm good with getting my points up, getting my stat sheets up. And, I'm not saying that that's what Minnesota's about, but they are younger, and he definitely has an edge and a grittiness that's been ingrained since he started from Chicago. So adding that element to Philadelphia may help them in the short term. And, based on their positioning being third in the conference, I don't necessarily see that staying there. I mean, the competition that they have, but the fact that they're missing some pieces on that offensive end that they probably need to shore up if they really want to make a push. They're probably going to end up somewhere around that 5, 6, 7 range, and I don't see them necessarily finishing in that top 4 once we get to the 82 games. Boston just they have more assets and no problems. And from the aspect of Danny Ainge has culminated so many draft picks, and then he has basically talent and waiting on that team. So it's really based on their veterans. And, I kind of have to school Al Horford from this one. This is not just a him thing. People kind of poke him and say, like, oh, he's like, no, no. This is a Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. How do we get ourselves back in shape and work these other guys in without stepping on their toes? And already there's been some rumbles from Rozier, and you just look at the pace and the energy and the way that they've done. They're really trying to work to get Hayward his confidence and get him back in, because that's sort of the thing that they're missing is that they had an underdog mentality before, and this year it's sort of, they're not necessarily the underdogs. People are they kind of say the early favorites, but right now, with their record, what is it, 13-10? That's, it's kind of a tough thing to say. Favorites right now. They have a little bit more to prove, and it's plenty of time. There's no reason to count them out. I mean, they're currently sitting at what, 6th, but their roster doesn't indicate a 6th ranked team. So then we go on to the last two of the Atlantic Division, Brooklyn and New York, and you kind of can bundle them up, even though there's two separate areas. Yes, I do understand the difference between Brooklyn and New York, and yes, they do have to go across a bridge. But as far as their talent and the level of what they have on their team, New York, they have potential to get better. I'm not gonna say they're underperforming, because they have a lot of injuries and a lot of youth that is really starting to bubble up to the surface, as far as the fight and the energy of, we're here. We're not just the team that everybody kind of scores on. I mean, it's still going to happen, because they don't have the defensive, capabilities to kind of keep up with that. But on the offensive end, they're showing signs of, something interesting that may be possible. So, that's it for the Atlantic Division. The next division we're going to is Central.